guys? You're listening to another episode here on the Mindful Chiropractor podcast. Excited to have you guys here as we're going to be diving deep into a topic about if you are within the first year of starting. It could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, doesn't matter. This is all going to be relevant, but it's more for those who are starting up or who've been in practice for a year or 2 years. What are some things that I would recommend? I've been asked this question a lot in the last week, and I thought, hey, why not do an episode on this? Before I dive in to today's episode, I want to share with you a workshop that we have coming up. It is next week, January 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I am going to be breaking down the three secrets of how you can end burnout. I was someone who was burned out every 4 to 6 months. In my first 5 years of my practice, yes, I hit my financial peak. Yes, I did all the great things like that. Got into the top 3%, for chiropractors' income. But at the same token, I was a place in my life where I was unsatisfied, unfulfilled, didn't have the drive and motivation to grow. I lost my vision for a little bit. And I'm going to share with you why it's so critical to keep this on check. It's basically just as important as getting an adjustment. What are things you can do to avoid? Because I haven't had burnout in 7 years now. And how does that play a role in your life? How to avoid it? And what does that mean for you in your practice and your life overall? So you can go ahead. It's right at the top of the show notes. Go ahead and register. I am offering $300, $300 worth of bonuses for the first 20 chiropractors that go ahead and register. So you just signing up, you're getting bonuses. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I really want to see chiropractors thrive and really take this profession to a whole nother level of where potential can go. And so go ahead, get registered, check out the show notes, go ahead and do that. So here we go. Let's dive in. So the first thing that I would recommend when it comes to a startup, and I recommend this to pretty much all my clients go through this. And it's one of the things that is so not focused on a lot. Like we don't really speak on it. Like if I ask you, if you're a new startup or if you've been in practice for a couple of years, what do you do? How do you want to get to the next level? I'm like, what do you want? I want to double my practice. Okay. So what does that take? Well, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do marketing. I got to do this. I got to do my social media posts. I got to do this. I got to get reviews. I got to get referrals. I got to ask for them. I got to do workshops. I got to go meet in the chamber. I got to go to the business associations. I got to blah, 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 right? We have all this stuff. Notice that the whole focus was about you doing, not being, right? The whole focus was exerting energy, effort, hard work, and all that. And the problem in society in today's world, especially in the business world, and this is Western civilization for the most part, is that it is something that we get so thinking that success is based upon our hard work and what we do. Okay. And this is not just in chiropractic. I've coached over hundreds of entrepreneurs in the last 4 years. So I've ranged 22 different professions that I've coached in 4 different countries. And it's one of those things that it shows up there too. Okay. This is not just prone to chiropractors. I fell in this trap. I was doing so much running around. Everyone says you got to keep going until you hit that liquid gold, the river of gold. Once you get there, then it's it. Then And it's like, but there's other ways to do things because I did that. I hit my gold and all that stuff, right? That was great. Then I got rid of it all. Yeah, I chose a 40% hit financially on purpose to recenter my practice and get more centered to where I wanted to be. And then I didn't search for my gold. Actually, the gold found me. Okay. So the number one thing, okay, and I'm going to blend this there's going to be 2 things blended into one though, is you have to have a vision of what your office is. What is it that your office serves? More importantly, who are you as a chiropractor? How do you define yourself as a chiropractor? How do you define chiropractic? Not by what an association says, by your words and what it matters to you. Okay. What does your practice stand for? What's the values that it stands for? What's the vision that you have within your practice? Who are your ideal patients? Who's that avatar? Who's the niche, as some people say? What is that? All those things. That is the most primary thing you must do. When I work with chiropractors, especially startups, especially a year or 2 in, this is the thing I have them go back. Like, I already know my ideal patient. I already know this. This is what I want. And I'm like, okay, let's go through it then. And we go through it. They don't. They think, oh, they have it aligned. And then we go through the work. And then all of a sudden there's gaps. There's incongruences that are happening. Now, when you have an incongruence, what ends up happening is you're creating resistance to growth. You don't attract it. So that's a whole nother concept. But the thing is you got to be crystal clear with that. That is that's the premise. That's the foundation to like a house. It's the foundation to all things. It's the same way of looking at health. Nervous system is the foundation to it all. If you don't address the nervous system first, nothing else is going to really matter. You're not going to maximize it. You might feel a little better. You might be able to get to certain levels, but you're not optimal. And you won't be able to adapt as well as you possibly can. You're going to still have to give something up because of that. Right? That's chiropractic. Well, this is the same thing when it comes to growing your own businesses and scaling it and so much more. It's all going to come back to mindset. Okay. Your vision, because that's going to determine how everything else flows. That's going to determine that thing that you're going to do is either going to be successful or not. That's going to determine how well you thrive in practice, how well you hit the obstacles. Because let's face it, it's not going to be a beautiful road going up. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not going to be. Practice is not designed. Life's not designed. So if life's not designed to be that way, never has been, or else we wouldn't be here experiencing this thing called human being experience, then at the same token, business is going to be the exact same thing, because that's a whole other story that I won't get into, but I'll share a little bit of that nugget. Your personal life is actually is directly correlated to what's going on in your business life. There's no separation. Our mind makes it separate, but it's not. It's the same thing. So your business problems are your personal problems. But let's take a step back, go back to mindset, right? So mindset and vision is going to be all things. How you see things, the lens you see things through, and so much more is going to determine how well successful you are or not. If you don't address that, nothing else matters. You can fake it till you make it, but when you fake it, you have to give something up, right? That's the same thing as like when the body is it can't adapt as well. It's going to do the best it possibly can, but it's giving things up in the process, things called like health and vitality. And so that's the first thing you want to go ahead and do. So vision is the most important thing, but I cannot emphasize enough. I've shared this before in the podcast about having a vision and who be the chiropractor, and those episodes that I have in the first, I think both of those are within the first 10. And so you have those there, but now I'm kind of putting the pieces together a little bit. So that's the first step. Okay. You want to make sure that you as a chiropractor are crystal clear on your vision, who you are as a chiropractor, how you're serving the profession, how you're serving your community, what do you stand for, what does your practice stand for, and who is it that is your ideal patient or avatar, okay? So that is the first thing that you should be focusing on when it comes to starting up, or if you've been in the practice, or if you've been in practice for 10 years, because I've worked with variety. 24 years in the practice, 17, 12, 11, 1, 6 months, startups, so forth. This is all going to relate, okay? The second one is a no-brainer. You can Google this and you could find it. It'll show up somewhere. But your online presence, okay? You want to make sure that your online presence is done right, because that's the first thing that people are going to look at. And unfortunately, in today's world, patients are going to judge based on what they see on a website. And so I remember, people when I first came out, starting my practice as an independent contractor, renting a space. It was one of those things where the office was very old. It wasn't new. We had 3 different carpets right in the hallway and all these other things. But I had such a beautiful website based on what people said. And it was one of those things where some people couldn't understand they see the beautiful website. It's all modern. It's all updated. You come in, it was all updated. I had a lot of technology. I was using QR codes back then before they were even popular. Had to get a special QR reader and stuff. But long story short, what ended up happening was they just saw a disconnect until I had my new office, my third one my brand new one that I shifted over to. And that's where we had nice aesthetics on the one before, but the third one, my wife was involved and everything. We had an interior designer, and it was just beautiful. And it was one of those things where it all aligned, but people judge based upon how your online presence is, based on your website. But not only that, it's also social media, right? What are you posting? You should be posting. You should have a page. It's not hard, simple to do, and just take pictures and post. Take a picture and put a little caption in and post on a regular basis. Share stories. You can do reels now on your pages. So this is totally different than when I was in practice. If I was still in practice at this moment, I would be doing reels galore and stories galore on our page to showcase what we do. Okay. It's one of those things that I have this in my coaching program. We have a marketing section, and we're actually developing it right now to make it bigger for chiropractors. And we were putting a whole set of stuff to put together. But it's one of those things where it's just simplistic marketing. I'm not going to share all these crazy things. It's just simple, basic marketing that works. It's tried and true, and it will work. And your social media presence is going to be one of those. So Facebook is great. Instagram's awesome. You can sync the two together. So when you post on one, it posts on the other. I think that's really great to do. And it's where you can have your patients build up for reviews. A lot of people spend time on Facebook, so it's a great, especially for patients. So it's a great way to showcase what you do in your office and get that presence. And the other thing I would mention though is don't be perfect. Okay, we get too caught up in like making things look so beautiful and so perfect. The world, social media, my opinion, based on some experts I talked to, we're kind of getting away from that perfection. Like the reels, you want them to be nice and clean, video edited and all that, but stories, not at all. They want it as raw as possible. Okay. That's kind of where it is. And you just take little snapshots and you can choose. Like sometimes you can structure these things out. Mondays you do this, Tuesdays you do this, Wednesday you do this, Thursday you do this, Friday you do this. If you're only in the office 4 days a week, then just do them on the days you're in the office. That way it's just getting done. You can do every single day if you want, but the whole purpose is just to get content out there for your local community, because that's where you want to focus on. It's not about having 10,000 followers and only 100 of them are from the community. You want all your followers to be from the community or in the community areas to where there would be patients, former patients, and so forth. And there's so many ways you can do that, but you want to have that strong social presence. The thing about organic marketing with this social presence is it's going to take time. It's not something that's a quick fix. It's not something that's going to blow you up. It's going to take time because you have to you're showing yourself that you're authority, and the way things work in society and how the human brain works and how we adapt is the more exposure we have to something, the more we will like and choose. So sometimes it takes them 8, 7, 8, 9 times of touches to eventually be interested and want to go that route. This is why when you go sign up for something for email marketing or a workshop or something, they'll blast you with like 12, 15 different emails. That's why. So that's the second thing is you got to have that strong online presence. I think that's going to be one of a big tool for you to really level up in what you do and so forth. The third thing is going to be, and I talk about this in my book. I have an ebook and I have a video course actually too. That's an extension of it, but it talks about 8 secrets to getting new patients, and I break down different ways. And so one of them in there. It's not called this in the book, but it's networking, otherwise known as distribution. But it's how you're networking and how you're connecting. Remember when I said number 1 is your vision? You got to know what your vision is, your ideal patient, your avatar. Some people call that a niche, but and what's your purpose? Why do you define chiropractic? Your practice. How do you define it? What you stand for, and all that. There's a reason why we do that, right? Because we're talking about our Facebook page. It has to align. Everything we do then has to put on Facebook and Instagram or social media has to align to that. If you're doing blogs, has to align to that. Everything has to align, right? Well, here's the third thing that has to align. You see, if you're just going out and saying, I want to serve everyone, I don't want to be specific to one. Well, broad's never going to win the work in the realm of marketing, okay? Marketing, you have to be specific with. It's just how marketing works. It's just a game that's been developed that way. But when it comes to that, though, when you are being hyper-specific, it is going to allow you then to create the partnerships that align. I mean, you're not going to partner with lawyers if you don't want to do PI cases, okay? Like, for example, I'm a certified pediatric chiropractor. So when I started to go pediatrics, I started looking and saying, okay, who's the best lactation consultant? Who's the best? Who's the midwife to go to around here? Who are any doulas that I can get in contact with? And the first thing I did was ask all my patients, the moms, who do you know is views the midwife, who doula? I'm looking for partnerships. And they had some recommendations, especially on the doula side, because it was a little harder for us to find doulas. And then after we reached out, we had a partnership with with a midwife, and I was exclusive to her only because of what she stands for. We had a meeting; it was like an hour and a half long. I normally don't have meetings that long, and but her philosophy and where she came from and her studies and I was like, this is the person I would refer to. The second thing was then we looked at lactation consultants, and it took us a little bit of time. We had some potentials, yes, no, and then there was one who we really enjoyed to work with. So we had that. So you see, I'm finding partnerships in this. When I first came out, I was just trying to join with anybody. Hey, the bank. Hey, you want to get together, banker? No, come on, let's get together. Let's have a talk. Blah, 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 blah. Financial advisor. Okay, great. Let's do a little workshop together. Okay, great. Yeah. Hey, insurance agent. Okay, yeah, we can really work something. Let's do something. Hey, your energy healer. Okay, come on over. You do some Reiki. You want to do a class? Yeah. Hey, breathwork. You want? So I did all these things, right? And don't get me wrong, practice grew. We got there. So it was a grind and hustle. It was all the things that they tell you to do. That's what I did. But it was so much easier when you're aligned, because then all of a sudden what happened was all those partnerships, the people that would refer to me, all of a sudden the kiddos were getting better. They couldn't latch, failure to thrive, constipation, all these different things that would show up. And I was really trying to build up relationships with some holistic pediatricians. That was a little tougher, but it was one of those things where I was known as the guy that this is where you send your kids to. And that was great, right? Why? Because I didn't have to do as much work. That's my distribution. Now I have people helping me serve my mission, and I have chosen where I'm showing up as the authority when it comes to, or authoritative figure, should say, when it comes to children's health and pediatrics. It took us a few years to get to that point where we were known in our community that way. Not like we weren't known in the community, but it was just yes, this is the person you go to. And everyone was starting to talk about us and refer us. So it took us a while to build that network, but it's so worth it. Okay. So these are longevity kind of things that you're looking to when it comes to startup. Don't try to get all caught up into how fast you're growing and this. Hey, cover your bills, cover your personal, cover your businesses, keep it as lean as possible. Okay. That's going to be the biggest thing to help you get through that and stay lean for the first 3 years. Sorry. I usually recommend stay lean for 3 years. Live under your means. As you grow, reinvest, use those things, start to build an emergency fund, get yourself really solid. And then when you have that, that's when things can change. The last thing I'm going to mention, and this is not because I'm a coach, but I don't understand why people go blind in this. They'll either get a program or they go on their own and try to figure it out. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very transparent. I had a coach about 6 months before I came out of chiropractic school. So when I say get a coach, I'm literally saying get a coach, save yourself the headache. Because what a thing coaches can do is they're going to share their experiences with you of what they've went through, so you can shorten up your time to get faster to that result. Okay. If you want to have a $50,000 a month, $500,000 practice or a 7-figure practice, work with a coach. It's so worth it. I went through a very lean time where my student loans back and then in October 8, 2008, 2009, I came out in 2009, graduated. 2010 is when I started, right almost in the middle of the Great Recession, a little towards the end. And they're like, you're going to pay full price. There's no working with you. And things were a little lean. I'm just starting a business. I put everything on credit cards because I was just like, I'm going to make it all work. It's all going to work out. And, but yeah, long story short, it did end up working out, but I ended up going bankrupt at one point because I just couldn't keep up with the expenses, student loans and everything else. And, but it was one of those things where in that journey, in that process, the one thing I didn't give up on was a coach. I make sure I can make my lease payments, and I always made sure that I can cover my coach and all the other expenses that I had, like the equipment rent to that, the equipment that I bought. And so I was like always making sure. And I will tell you, it was the best investment I did, because what it allowed me to do is it helped me to keep moving forward, get my mind, keep it on track, learn from their mistakes and how to fine tune what I needed to do for myself during that time, and really help me break through. And it did. I mean, yeah, I went bankrupt, but that was like a launching pad. My business exploded even more. Not that it wasn't growing. It just wasn't growing fast enough for me from a personal expense side. My expenses were just so high. So it's one of those things where, again, coaching will really help in that process. I highly recommend it. I do coaching. If you're interested and want to learn about my methodologies and what I do from a mindset perspective, from living in the quantum perspective, and how to use the quantum world to attract the reality of what you want rather than forcing it, and then also business principles and things like that, check it out. I have a link at the bottom of the show notes or just visit callwithdrvic.com. It'll take you to a page that you can go ahead and set up a time to just connect. We'll talk for about 30 minutes. It's a breakthrough call. I get to see where you are, what you're up to, what you're doing, and really, see what you want to achieve. And then with all that, if I can help you, I will tell you that I can. And from there, that's where we'll go ahead. And then I'll tell you about my coaching program and how I'll do that. So you can check that out there. But that's what I got for you guys today. As always, please subscribe. Go ahead and share this with someone that may benefit. And if you enjoyed the podcast, share a review. It helps us get us out there and our message out there into the chiro world for podcasting. So I appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep rocking and rolling.